Hello and welcome back to the IT Reviews channel. My name is Martin and today we're going to take a look at the best app for live video streaming and screen recording and learn how to start streaming on Twitch, YouTube and other streaming platforms. In this review, we'll go through the encoders and optimal settings for recording and streaming together with you, show the key points and features for recording, streaming and restreaming for multiple platforms, and take a brief walk through some interesting third-party services and plugins for OBS that help you realize a professional stream like your favorite streamers on Twitch. Of course, the OBS software and third-party services in the review are not the panacea or the only option. It's a base that can be adapted to your needs. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like it. It motivates us like nothing else to make more useful videos for you. This video will be extensive but strictly practical and pragmatic, no filler. Below this video, you'll find available time codes for those who want to get right to the point of interest. Let's get started. OBS Basics. Open Broadcaster software, OBS, is free and open source software. The program grew out of a small project called by Jim Bailey in 2012. In 2014, it was fully rebuilt from scratch and got its current look. At the time of this video recording, the latest available version of OBS Studio was version 28. Thanks to the open code, a pretty large and strong community of people has gathered around OBS, though there is no centralized technical support service or anything like that. If you have any difficulties, you will have to solve them yourself or approach the aforementioned community. OBS is available for Windows, Mac OS and Linux. What's new in OBS Studio 28? First of all, it is worth noting the termination of support for Windows 7 and 8, Mac OS 10.14, Ubuntu 18.04 and all 32-bit systems. Additionally, many third-party plugins that depend on legacy Qt5 components may not work until they are updated. Of the important things that I would note is the HDR and 10-bit color support, and YouTube chat has become a possibility with the ability to respond to messages for those who broadcast to the service. It will be very useful. The function becomes available after connection. New AMD encoder, AMD HW, and native support for Apple Silicon processors. Also, important for Windows, I would note application-specific audio capture that works properly and integrated NVIDIA background removal feature. Not that important, but a newly introduced thing is the default Yummy theme. Yet, if you wish, you can return the old familiar dark theme. The full list of modifications can be found in this OBS forum thread. Encoder type. The encoder you use for your specific hardware will depend on what you are actually doing, streaming or recording, and with what limits. Immediately after installing and running OBS for the first time, the Auto Configuration Wizard window will open, which we simply close and proceed to manual configuration. But first, I would like to talk a little about encoder types. The advanced new H.264 encoder, NVIDIA, the most popular and optimal encoder for most users who have a graphic chip video card from NVIDIA, starting with the GTX 600 for desktop GPUs and the GTX 660M for mobile devices like laptops. This encoder is comparable to the very fast preset of X264, a card based on the Turing family, such as the 1660 Super and newer, will give you a Turing Advanced encoder that is about medium X264 quality. What is the advantage of this encoder, you may ask? The thing is that Advanced is a separate process from graphic processing in general, and thus it has little effect on system performance. The AMD HW encoder. Let's just say this type of encoder is similar to Advanced, but for AMD graphic chips. Prior to version 28 of OBS Studio, the AMD Advanced Media Framework codec was used, which is also still available for use. X264 is the highest quality and most demanding one. Encoding is performed with the help of your CPU. In complex tasks involving image capture, you will get a high CPU load. The general rule is that if you can't find an X64 preset that comfortably overperforms Invents for your hardware, just use Invents. If you're going to record complex games with the X264 encoder, you will definitely need a powerful CPU with additional cooling. In my experience, I'd recommend Ryzen 7 5800X and better higher or the corresponding model by the Intel, preferably i7 of the 12th generation. The more cores, torrents, and the higher the frequency, the less chance the preset will work properly. The lower the preset, the greater the load on your CPU, and accordingly the higher the image quality. As a rule, this type of encoder is used quite rarely as it requires a large amount of resources and fine-tuning. Some professional streamers built a separate streaming PC with flagship CPUs, others, even having a good CPU, still use the Turing Advanced codec. Other encoders. In addition to the previously listed encoders, there are still a large number of other encoders, both better and worse, but most of them are aimed for recording, not streaming. Owners of new AMD and 11th generation Intel processors like Rocket Lake and Tiger Lake will face the HEVS encoder H265. This encoder provides smaller file size and higher video quality due to its technology. According to my personal observation, I did not get a particular increase in quality and the file size is really smaller, but there are some nuances. Owners of older Intel CPUs will encounter QuickSync H264 QSV encoder. You may also find such encoders as VCE, VCN, AMF, SVT, AOM, etc. It is difficult to say which one is good or bad since it all depends on the specific configuration of your device, but in general, we have mentioned the most popular encoders, so let's proceed to configurations. Bitrate, audio, and other recording settings. Suppose you figured out an encoder, and specifically in my case for recording, I will use the AMD HW-H264 encoder. Perhaps some of you will ask why not H265, so here's a little note. Unfortunately, there are certain issues while recording video using this codec. Firstly, not every media player will open this file. The classic Windows player asks for a little money for the codec. The installation of K-Lite Codec Pack Mega is free and works with this codec without problems. And I also encountered the problem of editing the file in Adobe Premiere Pro in the form of artifacts. I don't know how everything would look after rendering the project, and even more so after uploading the video to YouTube, since the YouTube requirements state that the encoder must be the H264. I decided that it would be easier to use the classic and universal H264. Surely the H265 codec is the future, but not as of now. First of all, let's go to the video settings tab. By default, if you have a Full HD monitor, the output scale resolution field will be 1280 by 720. If you need to get the output file resolution to be the same as your monitor resolution, you'd have to modify these settings. Say you have a 4K monitor and you need a 1080 file. Then downscale filter is set to bicubic by default, but if your device configuration allows, I'd advise you to change this value to lensos. Below, set the FPS value for the recording. The optimal value is 30, while I use the highest value of 60 frames. You can set the desired value. Just remember, the higher it is, the more load on your hardware. And the 60 FPS value is relevant only for dynamic scenes such as games. For various tutorials, for example, 24-25 FPS will be enough. Let's move on to the output item and select output mode. Advanced for deeper settings, then go to the streaming recording tab depending on what we will be setting up. I will show the setting for record and you can already do it yourself for streaming by analogy. The first thing to change if necessary is the path where your records will be saved. I prefer MKV for recording, others may prefer MP4 or MAV as it opens without problems in video editing programs. But if the recording crashes, the entire file will be damaged. To open the MKV file in a video editor, first you need to play Remux recordings in OBS. Just go to the menu, OBS, File, Remux Recordings, and the window that appears, select the video created using OBS. Multiple files are possible. If necessary, change the path of the output file and click Remux. Remux speed depends on your device configuration. The audio track field is always set to 1 by default, that is, audio recording happens from the first channel only. If we go to the audio tab, we can see that this is the default playback device. That is, what you hear in speakers or headphones is also recorded in the audio track. Using the virtual audio cable application, we can record up to 6 audio tracks at the same time. For example, a sound recording from a game, a recording of Discord, your microphone, and a master channel on which all sounds are recorded. This layout is very convenient for recording the Let's Plays in cooperative modes. During editing, you can easily remove unnecessary sounds and so on. YouTube has clear instruction on how to implement this feature, but we'll possibly make a separate video of this topic. Choose the encoder based on the capabilities and requirements. Events new for NVIDIA video cards will always be optimal. If you don't have one, choose the best one available. In my case, it is H265 Hz AMD HW for recording and H264 for streaming. Now we got to the main settings that affect the quality of your video. You can leave the quality preset balance or choose quality if your device allows it. Rate control method is always CBR and pre-pass mode is disabled. Target bitrate is one of the most important options responsible for the quality of the picture, the load on your hardware, and the size of your recorded file. For example, nowadays for YouTube, provided that we have 60 FPS at a resolution of 1080p Full HD, we set the value of 12 Mbps, and for HDR projects, this value is 15 Mbps, respectively. According to this table, you can choose a value according to your project parameters. And finally, we leave keyframe interval 2 and the rest of the default parameters as shown on your screens. The last setting you need to configure is to change the audio bitrate in the audio tab. The default value is 160, but YouTube supports 320 kbps, so we just change the value to 320 everywhere, then go to the audio settings item and make sure that the sample rate value is 48 kHz and channels is set to stereo. As YouTube points out, 44 kHz is recommended. Higher sample rates are accepted but not required. Congratulations! At this stage, the basic setup for recording video via OBS is completed. Now we need to prepare the scene. Scenes and sources are the essence of OBS Studio. This is where you set up the structure of the stream and video recording, add games, webcams, and any other devices or media you want. To hide or show scenes and sources, use a special menu at the top of the program for working with dock panels. Dock menu, dock panels. You can create as many scenes as you like and give them names to differentiate between them. For example, welcome, desktop, game, break, and it is important to clarify that all scenes and sources in OBS Studio cannot have the same name. Having created the scene, add the source from the list that you need. Whether you want to stream a specific window, a game, an image, text, or your entire display, OBS Studio offers several resources to choose from. You can rearrange sources in the preview by dragging them in the list or by using the up and down arrow buttons. The source above the other in the list will have more priority and may hide those below it, similar to layers in Photoshop, for instance. It can also be useful in situations where you want to stream something over another source, say a webcam image. To show or hide an element, click on the eye icon. This also applies to filters. When a source is selected in the list, you see a red frame around it. This is a bounding frame that can be used to move sources around in the preview window, as well as to increase or decrease the size of the source. If you want to crop the source, hold down the Alt button and move the bounding frame. The cut edge will change to green, indicating that the source is being cut. You can also right-click on each source in the list to access other options. this will take you to the filters submenu, and for example, for your webcam, you can use background removal when using chroma key. In a similar way, you can create additional scenes with various animations and other goodies. As for working with scenes, we can shoot a whole separate guide, but here I will not describe in full detail all the possibilities because this video would become too large. Still, I will tell you a little about useful third-party services. Streaming and connecting external devices. The main disadvantage of OBS while streaming is the inability to simultaneously stream and multiple platforms properly. That is without lags and errors. It is also worth noting that the impossibility of changing the bitrate during the broadcast. If there are problems with the internet channel during streaming, you will have to stop the broadcast to reconfigure. Many novice streamers are wondering what platform is better to stream on. So I advise you to stream your content on each possible platform at once. I have not yet been able to find a better service than Restream.io. Of course, using this service without a subscription, you will lose quality since the maximum bitrate is limited to 6000 kbps. And in the free version, you are limited to streaming only on 2 platforms, for example, YouTube and Twitch. If you need to add more platforms, you will have to purchase a subscription or use alternative services. In addition to using the Restream service, there is Switchboard, though I have no experience in using it. Also, a large number of users prefer the multiple RTMP outputs plugin, since this method allows streaming to multiple devices for free, has a simple interface and the ability to pre-configure. Connecting the Restream.io service is simple. Go to the website, register, log in, click Add Destination, select the desired platform, click the Connect button and grant the necessary rights to the service. Same with the other platform. After a successful connection, you can edit the information for your streams, title, description, category, etc. Next, go to the setting for OBS, copy RTMP server link and the stream key and paste it into the appropriate fields in OBS Studio. Just in case, we check the broadcast settings, encoder and bitrate, and we can start broadcasting. Once you start streaming, you should be able to stream on both platforms. I will not analyze the Restream settings in detail in this video. If you want a separate video on this topic, be sure to write it in the comments, if there is such a demand. We'll definitely make a detailed guide. Multichat. When streaming to multiple platforms, there is often a need to display multichat, and the coolest solution, in my opinion, would be the Rotany chat, since it has support for a large number of platforms. Dynamic support for emoticons, colored nicknames, polls, sweepstakes, icons for subscribers, more than 100 themes, etc. But this application is paid, and today we are focusing on free solutions. Multichat by Restream is free and will cover the basic needs of most users. For users with a single monitor, a particularly useful feature will be the ability to pin a chat over any program or game, and which will not be captured by OBS. Let's look for the Restream chat. So go to the website and download the application. After successful installation and signing up, we see the application window of our Multichat. In the lower left corner, we see the status of the platforms connected to the Restream chat. Now our task is to bring the chat to the stream. For this, we go to Settings, Embed in Stream, configure the stylization and copy the link for integration into OBS. I select my scene, add browser as the source and paste the link. Then tweak the window size and its location. As you can see, chat is working, it displays messages on the stream. To pin the chat window on top of all windows, go to the appearance settings and turn on Always on Top and click Through Mode at the bottom. Set the background opacity to 0% and change other settings as you deem fit. This configuration will allow you to see the total number of viewers on your stream, as well as chat messages from different platforms without disturbing you in the game itself. Please note that in order for viewers to see no chat overlay, you need to capture a specific window or game and not the entire display. Donations while streaming is what most streamers wish for, so how does one integrate donations while streaming? There are a large number of services for such tasks. Which one is the best? I am not ready to answer, yet I will try donation alerts. This platform is also used to receive subscription notifications including Twitch Prime, Call to Vote, Roulette, Multichat, and other functions. I'll explore the donation function with a fundraising goal, displaying the last donation and top donations, and I'll add notifications about new subscribers, and you can familiarize yourself with the rest of the platform's function. Disclaimer: be careful as there are reviews indicating problems with the withdrawal of funds and blocking accounts without due process. On the other hand, I often see this particular service with many popular and old streamers. Immediately after registration and authorization, you will need to go to the general settings and connect the necessary platforms, in my case Twitch and YouTube, that have been already connected by me earlier. Immediately after connecting the platforms, on the donation page, you can get a QR code or just a link to the donation page. Also on this page, you can customize its appearance and specify the minimum amount for a donation in different currencies. I hope you figure out where to insert the link to the donation page on your own. In order to receive a donation notification during the stream, we need the appropriate widget. By default, your group will already have several notification options, but I deleted everything and I will show you how to quickly create the desired notification. Press Add New Variation, specify the title, for example, simply donation. You can also play around with other widget settings such as general appearance or change the notification image and sound from the library or upload your own. I have prepared my version of the sound and my animated picture. After setting up, save the widget. I have to create 2 more widgets for notifications to YouTube and Twitch. After you get all the necessary widgets, I take the link of my widget group, paste it into OBS as a browser source and check. In my case, everything works, yet I can also check using a fake donation with the text and see what happens. I go to the My Donations tab and click on the Add Donation button. Fill in the required fields to imitate someone donating during the stream. This way, some streamers create fake donations to launch a so-called chain reaction, to prompt users to donate for real. This type of fake donations is also taken into account in the in-stream statistics widget and other related widgets related to donations, except for donation goals. For some reason, fake donations are not taken into account here. Go to the donation goals widget tab and click Create Goal. Style it as you wish and add it as a browser source to your scene. In stream statistics, everything is similar. In my case, 2 widgets have already been created, which I call Top Donate and Last Donate. You can display a different number of elements for different periods of time, set the output method, and so on. In general, everything is simple and you can play around with the settings and adjust the channel design to your style. Scene design, overlays, the design of scenes is an important component for a streamer, and still I have to say there are a large number of services that provide ready-made templates, PSD source files, and overlay constructions. I would like to tell you about one such constructor, namely Stream Elements. Firstly, the advantage of Stream Elements overlay themes is that all components are processed not by your device but by the Stream Elements server, thus removing the load from your CPU. For strong PC, this may not be a significant indicator, but for weak devices, scenes with animations, glitches, and other effects can significantly reduce the load. As always, let me give a short and quick guide to this service, and you, in turn, will do the rest as you prefer. Go to the streamelements.com website, log in through a platform convenient for you, and go to Streaming Tools. Overlays Gallery. I use a neutral one, the popular blue flare theme, and click Create My Overlay. I get links to my overlays, create a scene, and add the overlay of choice. For complete immersion, I will use a prepared blank for the background and webcam. Then I go back to Stream Elements and edit the overlay in my overlays. In my case, in-game scene. As you can see, this is a simple constructor. I can customize it, change the text, the positions of the elements, save, and voila, the changes have been automatically applied in OBS. Now I have to add the necessary widgets: chat, last donation, best donation, donation notification, etc., and do the same for the other scenes. Thus, you can quickly create a rather beautiful design, perhaps not the most unique, but if you try, then by replacing the images of frames and other components, you can make it unify. It all depends on your desire, imagination, and time. As I said at the very beginning, a large community has formed around OBS Studio, and this community is actively developing various plugins. There are more than 1,000 of them in total. However, with the release of version 28 of OBS, I assume that more than half of them will not work. To list them would not be appropriate in this video. Still, I have identified 2 plugins that are interesting to me in terms of stream design. Advanced Scene Switcher. A handy plugin that helps to automatically switch scenes, for example, when changing windows in the system. This plugin allows you to set up switching scenes using macros. Macros consist of a list of conditions under which an action will be performed. Move Transition. Plugin to move sources to a new position during scene transition. Using these plugins will help you automate and stylize scene switching. In this video, I will not go into detail about installing and configuring these plugins, but only give ideas for your potential creativity in organizing the space of your professional streaming scenes. Summary. Alright, we have come to the end of our brief guide and review of OBS Studio. In this video, we configured out the basic OBS setup that will allow you to set the optimal settings for recording and streaming, and also you can organize the workspace in your scenes. I hope many of you have understood that the main power of OBS Studio is streaming. OBS for me personally is the #1 solution for live streaming, with almost unlimited possibilities, a huge number of services that interact with the application, and a bunch of plugins that are created by the application community. Despite the fact that this guide turned out to be quite large, I can say with confidence that we have only touched on the basic necessary functions and features of OBS Studio, and also considered a small part of third-party services that provide excellent opportunities for the streamer. Nevertheless, this set of instructions that I have outlined in this video will help you figure out the rest of your questions on your own. For example, for those who record Let's Plays using OBS and the additional virtual audio cable application, you can organize recording into several audio tracks: master channel, game, Discord, microphone, and others. The solutions will allow you to easily organize a high-quality audio sequence. As you understand, I can talk about OBS a lot, so you can ask what interests you and I will try to find time to answer everything. If there are particularly popular questions, I will do a separate video. If you liked the video, please like, leave a comment, and thank you, and see you in the next videos. Bye!